Ugwudike was a village known for its vibrant culture, strong tradition, and a king whose power was as immense as his greed. Among the villagers was a renowned hunter named Ikenna. His skill with the bow was unmatched, his courage legendary, but it was his kind heart that endeared him most to the good people of Ugwudike. Ikenna had recently married Mma, the most beautiful woman in the village. Her grace and beauty were spoken of far and wide, and many men had sought her hand in marriage, but it was Ikenna's bravery and pure heart that won her love. Their union was celebrated with great joy, but not everyone was pleased. King Aja, who ruled Ugwudike with an iron fist, had his eyes on Mma. One day, he summoned his cabinet members and informed them of his wish to take a second wife, and the woman he must marry must be the most beautiful woman in Ugwudike village. "I am the king, and I deserve the best," he boasted proudly. One of his cabinet members informed him that the most beautiful woman in the village was already married to Ikenna, the great hunter. As soon as Ikenna's name was mentioned, the king's countenance fell, but he quickly put on a fake smile. "Oh, I see," he said calmly. "Well, I guess I have to settle for the second best. Meanwhile, my 40th birthday is in a few days, and I want to celebrate it in a grand style. I'll use that opportunity to honor everyone who has contributed to the growth of this kingdom." Ikenna the hunter has indeed done a lot for this village, and he deserves to be honored. I'll bestow upon him the privilege of giving the king's royal ring. His cabinet members were pleased with the idea. Ikenna indeed was loved by his people, and his popularity has continued to grow. King Aja lay on his bed and thought about Mma, the most beautiful woman in his village. Indeed, he deserves the best and not the second best. As he thought about this, his desire for her grew even stronger, and he began to plot a way to make her his own. King Aja, cunning and ruthless, devised a means to rid himself of Ikenna. On the king's birthday, Ikenna was summoned to the palace, and he was bestowed upon the responsibility of keeping the king's royal ring, a symbol of the king's power and trust. "Guard this ring with your life, Ikenna," the king commanded. "If it is lost, you will be held accountable and severely punished." Ikenna was unaware of the king's true intentions and accepted the task with honor. He kept the ring in a special pouch, always close to his heart. However, the king has already set his treacherous plan into motion. Mma, Ikenna's wife, had a very close friend called Ugochi. They visited each other very often, and when Ugochi came to visit Mma on a certain day and decided to spend the night, Mma thought nothing of it. That night, Ikenna and Mma slept very deeply, in fact, deeper than usual. It was as if they were under a spell. At the first crow of the cockerel, Ugochi took her leave. Mma asked why she was in such a hurry to go home, and she said she had a lot of duties to perform at home. Mma bade her farewell and went to perform her own duties. Ikenna went about his duties unaware of the storm brewing around him. Near the edge of the forest, Ikenna noticed a ring gleaming in the sunlight as he was hunting. He picked it up and examined it. It looked exactly like the one that was in his custody, so he kept it safe in his pocket. As soon as he got home, he went and opened the pouch where he had kept the royal ring, and behold, the ring was not there. He was bewildered and wondered what was going on. However, he decided that the royal ring must be kept in his pocket day and night. The New Yam festival was around the corner, and he was informed by the king's convoy that he was going to present the royal ring before the king on that day. Meanwhile, Ugochi was in a great panic. She had been hired by the king to steal the royal ring from Ikenna so that he would have cause to execute Ikenna for failing to provide the ring on that day. But as fate would have it, she had dropped the ring while she was in a haste to escape from her best friend and her husband. Knowing that she was in trouble, Ugochi hired a goldsmith to carve a replica of the king's royal ring, and she presented it to the king. King Aja, being blinded by greed and his lustful desire for another man's wife, did not notice that the ring was fake. As the New Yam festival was being celebrated, King Aja called for a public gathering. He was certain that his plan had succeeded as he ordered that Ikenna should be arrested. He announced to the villagers that Ikenna had thrown away the royal ring which was entrusted to him in a bid to spite him and the entire people of Ugudike. He announced that the punishment for such an offense was death. The entire people of Ugudike gasped in shock and disbelief as Ikenna was brought before the king in chains. King Aja, with a wicked smile, told Ikenna that he has failed in his duty and betrayed the trust of the entire people of Ugudike. But I did not throw the king's royal ring away, Ikenna protested. Be silent, the king commanded. If you didn't throw the royal ring away, how come it was found in the forest? He said as he brought out the fake royal ring. The punishment for this crime is death. Do you have anything to say as your last word? Ikenna, calm and composed, reached into his pocket and held up the royal ring for all to see. Your Majesty, the royal ring was never lost. It has been with me all along. The crowd erupted in gasps of amazement and confusion. The king's face turned pale with shock and fury. That must be fake, he thundered. The oldest man and the chief priest of Ugudike Kingdom was present, and he requested that the rings be brought to him one at a time. The ring in King Aja's hand was brought to him first. He examined it closely and shook his head in disapproval. Then, the royal ring in Ikenna's hand was brought to him. He took a closer look at the ring and nodded in approval. You have done nothing wrong, Ikenna, the chief priest said. This is indeed the royal ring of the king of Ugudike village. The entire crowd cheered in jubilation. King Aja's plan had failed, and he had no choice but to release Ikenna. The villagers, now aware of the king's treacherous plans, looked at him with suspicion and disdain. Ikenna and his beautiful wife, Mma, returned to their home, grateful for their good fortune. Their love grew even stronger, and they decided to be very careful with the kind of friends they were going to keep from this time onward. King Aja felt shamed and humiliated as he watched the villagers celebrate Ikenna's innocence and courage. Later, he tortured Ugochi into confessing that she had lost the ring she stole from Ikenna and hired a goldsmith who made a similar one for her. The king was outraged and accused her of causing him shame and disgrace. He sent her into exile and banned her from ever returning to Ugudike village. From that day forward, Ikenna's legend grew even greater, and he was respected not just as a hunter, but as a symbol of integrity and resilience. And though the king remained in power, his influence waned, and the village of Ugudike thrived under the watchful eyes of its true hero, Ikenna. The lesson learned from this is that it pays to live a life of integrity. Also, those who are close to us are the ones who hurt us the most. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this story. If you did, please like this video, subscribe to this channel, and share. Thank you.